I started this program in June 3 years ago. I came in as an oil painter, and I had been painting for something like 25 years. And I had come to a point where I wanted to deepen my practice, and I could not figure out on my own how to do that. Nothing was available online. And I painted in the first part of this program paintings. I'm 5.5 feet tall, and paintings were this size, 6 feet high, 5 feet wide. And this one, they were all diptychs at first. In this one, I switched the panels around and liked the composition much better. Here's the before, here's the after. I painted multiple kinds of subjects. I painted things I felt. This one's called The Heart Eater. This was about the TV controlling people. I scraped it off and painted this, followed by this one. And then this is the next painting after that. Still trying to figure out what I want to say, and change the sky a little bit. And it turned into this. Calmed it down. You can still see some of the remnants of wing-like structures up in the top half. And this painting was about digging up through the subconscious to come to some sort of enlightenment. This painting is titled Passionata, but it's about home and passion. I had no specific purposes yet in mind. I liked doing texture, and so I really went for texture. And this is paper mache on panel covered with acrylic paint. And it looks kind of like a field painting to me, and I really don't care for field paintings. So I put them on cardboard tubes. And this cardboard tube I altered a few times. And there's a separate piece on top. And it was sitting on top of 3 pieces at the bottom, 2 cylinders and a tailpiece. And the unthinkable happened. It fell over, hit me in the head while I was sitting on the floor near there cleaning, and gave me a grade 3 concussion, followed by severe post-concussion syndrome. I was to do nothing for the next several weeks, which turned into several and many months. I couldn't sleep well because it felt like my brain was never off. I could hear everything. I didn't have a filter. And here's a brain sitting on the chest, writing the person all night. Here is chasing afterthoughts that I couldn't find, or words that wouldn't come. I felt like my brain was playing hide and seek with me. And several months afterward, probably about 8 months afterward, I decided it's kind of time to make friends with this problem, at least get to know it. I was also thinking about how people all have their monsters. This one is a little 4-inch model for 3D printing that's supposed to be a sea monster. I intended a long series of these sea monsters, but I had trouble getting a 3D printer to get going, and if you don't do the file just right, if you don't build it just right, it won't print. And so I was still learning how to do that. I bought a tiny 3D printer, and then a big 3D printer. This is the same kind as mine. And this is a Delta style, operates on the basis of triangles. And here's the size comparison between the first one and the second one. And the second one is much more accurate than that first one. I was reading Mary Jacobson's Cy Twombly Poetry and Paint, and working and reading and working and reading, going back and forth, and I realized I was not just working on a monster, I was working on Adonis. And this is spray insulation foam over thick sheet foam, painted with acrylic. And Adonis needs his Aphrodite. Same materials. Here they are in presentation on a rug. I am in the process of crocheting rugs for everything. Here's the back side of, or another side of them. I was going to make another Apollo, or I mean, not Apollo, Aphrodite and Adonis, and I realized I was making Artemis. This here is Artemis. That's this Greek and Roman statue with many breasts. And her twin brother Apollo, both children of Zeus. This stands 6.5 feet tall, a little more, 6'7". And it's also the same material, foam on foam, painted with acrylic. There are some 3D prints that make up the beard in acrylic pattern, just like the Akkadian and ancient Greek statues. Here they are on a rug, and here they are facing each other the way they're intended to face each other. They're getting their own handmade rugs. Here they are in situ at the school. And I tried this on canvas, and it was pretty exciting because I had been looking for ways to get deep texture on canvas, and with oil paints it would take years to build up the layers that I wanted to 3 and 4 inches thick like this. So this is like instant build up, and then you work it, and then you can build on top of that and work it some more. So it becomes really fun to work, and it's easy to edit. I just cut it off with a serrated knife in it, or an X-Acto knife, and it's cut. I can put it back together again if I want with super glue. This is Psyche, the first sculpture I wired lights into, and it's got a infrared motion sensor near the bottom, and it'll light up for about 10 seconds when you walk by it, and then go off again, and you come back by again and it lights up. And it was the first time I'd ever had one of my pieces of art respond to me. This is the droop. It is the foam plus 3D prints that I made, plus eagle and hawk's toes and talons that I made, and little baby fingers that I made. Kind of a monster that eats everything. And this is the imp that sits below it. This is an earlier version. I had all the legs surface cracked apart, and I had to rebuild the outer layers of that. So it was in the process of getting rebuilt there. And here is the imp below the droop, and Artemis is sitting back in the background, and Monster Love is sitting way in the back there too. In this one, these are both monsters, and the lower one has, or the one with feet has a gold cuff with CZs, big CZs in it, and a heavy chain that goes over to the other one. And this slide will be replaced with a more up-to-date slide. But there's also gold paint drawings all over the one that sits over that's kind of dog-like. And there's this warmth between them, and they have this endearing quality that just looks like affection to me. I went to visit my mentor with a couple other students, and this was the piece I took up there that is all black beads and dark iridescent beads on black sequins on black paint. But it's not just foam. It's foam also covered with paper or cloth in places to mask the texture a little bit. And the beads run down kind of in a river to the right on this one, but there will be beads on both sides of this. And that's my littlest guitar. It's a guitarlele. I'm working on the 3 fates, which are those black ones that you just saw. I'm doing 3 of them, and I've already raised them up about a foot, so they're tall and skinny.